I am the mother of madness, and welcome to my channel. Hi guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to another recipe video. So tomorrow, September 2nd, kicks off the first day of fall, and I wanted to jump start this season with making a lovely fall recipe. I was able to hunt down some pumpkin at my local Aldi, and I am going to be making a few different pumpkin recipes. However, I'm going to start the first one with pumpkin bread. And this is the list of ingredients that you will need for this recipe. You're going to want 1 can of pumpkin, 2 cups of granulated white sugar, 3/4 cups of unsalted butter. I have salted butter, so I'm actually going to, if you have unsalted, that's how I was given the recipe, was to use unsalted, but I have salted. But if you use the unsalted butter, add in 1 teaspoon of salt. Since my butter is salted, I'm not going to use extra salt, of course. 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 teaspoons, which I'll probably put in a little extra because I love me some pumpkin pie spice, but 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice, and a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, which I forgot to grab, so hold on. Okay, I have vanilla flavored extract, 1/2 teaspoon of that, 2 large eggs, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and then of course a loaf pan to bake it in. I'm using a glass pan, so you're going to want to preheat your oven to 325. If you have a metal pan, preheat to, I think it's 350. So let's get into this recipe because it is so amazing, and my kids are like, can't wait for me to get this baking. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start with is mixing all of our wet ingredients. So the first thing I'm throwing into my bowl is the pumpkin. It's a 15-ounce can of pure pumpkin, and I had a hard time finding this. I actually tried to get it from Walmart, Publix, Winn-Dixie, and they were all out. But I lucked out over the weekend and found some at my local Aldi, which I'm so happy about. So I grabbed a few cans because there's a few different pumpkin recipes I want to share with you guys. But we're going to start off with pumpkin bread because it's so far the family favorite, other than pumpkin pie, I'm sure. So 1 can of that, and as you guys see here, in the ingredients, all it is just plain pumpkin. You don't want to get the pumpkin pie can, just the pure pumpkin. So we're going to put the pumpkin in, and then I'm going to add in my 2 large eggs. All right, the next thing we're going to grab is our 3/4 cup of softened butter. Again, I have salted butter, so I'm not going to use any extra salt. So 3/4 cup, or if you have the stick butter like I do, it would be 1.5 sticks of butter. And I kind of just let it, you want to have it softened, so I just put mine in the microwave for a couple of seconds to help soften it a little bit. And then you're going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of some vanilla extract. And now I'm going to take my hand mixer here, and I am going to mix up all of my wet ingredients. Okay, all of my wet ingredients are nicely mixed. So now we're going to start on putting in the dry ingredients. So the first thing I'm going to start with is my 2 cups of granulated white sugar. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give it a little bit of a mix before I put in the next thing, because I like to kind of mix as I go. So let me just, all right, so I've got the sugar kind of mixed in there now. And now we're gonna start on our flour. So I like to sift my flour in. I guess you don't really have to, but I like to because it makes it a little bit, you know, mixes a little bit better and it doesn't get all clumpy. But I'm gonna sift in 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Now every year, guys, I wanted to tell you this story, how we actually got started with having pumpkin bread in the fall. Is my mom is actually an oncology nurse, and one of her patients would bring in a few loaves of homemade pumpkin bread, and my mom would always bring one here to us, and my kids just absolutely loved it. And because of the situation with this year, you know, I'm kind of hesitant, and you know, I'm sure all of you can kind of agree with me on grabbing, you know, on getting things that are homemade from other people's homes. And I'm not even sure that she's even going to be making pumpkin bread for everybody this year, but she probably will. She's a very sweet woman. But I figured let's make our own pumpkin bread this year. And so that's why we're pretty excited for this recipe and to give a try, because usually we have it every single year at fall time from a very lovely woman that my mom takes care of. So this year we're gonna have to, you know, make our own, which is probably a good thing and almost a bad thing, because now if I, you know, make the recipe, they're gonna want it more and more. So with my flour in here, before I sift it, I'm actually going to just toss in my baking soda and baking powder also in the sifter, because sometimes, especially with baking powder, it's kind of like it needs to break up a little bit. It's like chunky. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put my baking powder and baking soda into the sifter as well. So for the baking soda, you're going to want 3/4 of a teaspoon. So baking soda. Make sure your baking soda is fresh, guys. I know a lot of the times we buy the baking soda and we just throw it in our fridge, but make sure your baking soda is fresh. And then I need, let's see, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon. You know what's nice about the baking powder? You see how the lid is like flat there? So when you scoop, you can kind of scrape it like that and make a nice flat measurement with your spoon. If you guys, you know, I think that's kind of neat how they do that, to make it a little bit, make nice even measurements. And then I'm just going to sift the other cup of flour in along with my baking powder and baking soda. And then we are going to mix that up. Oh, and then also my pumpkin pie spice, of course. That's like one of the most crucial things. So, and our pumpkin pie spice. So with the pumpkin pie spice, it says 2 teaspoons. I'm actually going to take the top off to make it a little bit easier. 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. I love the smell of pumpkin pie spice. Oh, so yummy. And now we're just gonna fold this all in. I don't want to do it with the hand mixer with the flour, because I don't want to make a big mess everywhere. So we're just gonna mix it with our spoon and get that all well incorporated and mixed together. Oh my goodness, it smells delicious. So now with our batter all mixed together, and doesn't that look beautiful? Look at that color. Such a beautiful fall color. I love making pumpkin recipes. So we have a beautiful batter here. all mixed well together. What we're gonna do next, guys, is we're going to grease our loaf pan to go into our oven. So let's go on to that. Let me clean up this a little bit so we don't have a messy workspace. And we're gonna start with greasing our pan. Okay, now I have my greased loaf pan. I just took like the other half a stick of butter that I had and greased really well all of the sides and the bottom of my grease pan. I've preheated my oven to 325 degrees. And guys, I don't know if I mentioned, but this recipe will actually make 2 loaves of pumpkin bread. So you're gonna take your batter and you're gonna fill it probably a little more than halfway up your pan. And then if you have 2 loaf pans, which I don't, you're gonna just put the batter on the side in the refrigerator and let that just hang out until you finish, so you can put in. So that's what I'm gonna have to do, is put half of it in the fridge until my first loaf is done, or you can put both loaves in the oven. But we're going to fill up our pan just a little more than halfway, and my oven is now preheated. So if you see here, I filled up my loaf pan about halfway because it is going to rise, guys. So I filled it up about halfway. I'm going to take the other half of the batter and just let it set until this is done. But this is going to go in the oven at 325 degrees for about 50 to 70 minutes. After 50 minutes, I'm going to check it with a toothpick and make sure it's clean. So basically, rule of thumb is once it gets a nice golden crust on the top, you're going to check it with a toothpick. If the toothpick comes out clean, then it is done. So I'm going to pop this in the oven, and I will see you guys in the next 50 to 70 minutes. Okay guys, here it is, fresh out of the oven. As you see here, I'm going to show you, I'm going to dip my knife in. Knife is clean, so that means it is ready. Mine baked for exactly 65 minutes. Now my oven is like over 15 years old, so ovens vary in temperature, guys. So I started checking it at 50 minutes, and then I added another 10 minutes, and then after that an extra 5 minutes, and at 65 minutes it came out this beautiful golden brown, cooked perfectly clean. And now I'm gonna let this cool so I can start my second loaf, and then we're going to give it a wonderful taste test. So there is the recipe for you guys. 65 minutes in my oven, and look how great it came out. Okay guys, now here's the best part, the time to taste test our bread. Now I will tell you guys, I just put in my second loaf, and I did mess up a little bit, and I put I didn't really half my batter as well as I should. So this one was a little bit bigger than the second loaf. So the second loaf probably won't take as long. But I wanted to show you guys really quick before we get into the taste test how it looks. And look at that. Look how moist and delicious this bread looks. You guys are definitely going to enjoy this. Everybody loves it, and my son actually already took dibs on having the first taste test. So I'm gonna have him come over and take a little bite, and I got him a slice here. So he's gonna do our first taste test. Okay, the moment of truth. Go ahead.
So it tastes really good. It tastes just like pumpkin pie, and it'd go very good with milk, whipped cream, and butter.
Okay, now I'm gonna have a little piece here. I'm gonna have the corner edge because I like to have the crust. I like that nice, like, crust, crunchy bits. So good. Very moist, very delicious. You guys would absolutely love this. This doesn't even need, I mean, you could put butter on it, but it really doesn't need it. It's so sweet but not too sweet. It's absolutely delicious. Please let me know if you guys give this a try. And guys, again, if you like this video, please give it a great big thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, guys. Bye-bye.